Hello and welcome to this project. In this project, we'll be building a to-do list website from scratch using react.js. So this is how the to-do list website looks like. We'll see the working of the app after seeing what are the tools and frameworks that we learn in this course, in this project course. So what we will do, the first thing basically like the initial step of every project is project setup. We'll see how to set up the React project, and then we'll install some dependencies like Material UI Core, Material UI Icons, Axios, and the required dependencies. We'll install them in the step 2, and then we'll be having 4 components excluding app.js. So in the app.js, we'll be writing all the business logic code, and we'll be using these 4 components so that we can build our React app. The 4 components are header component, create area component, node component, footer component. We'll be detailedly studying each and every line of code of how to write in these 4 components so that we'll see the app that we need to build. And then finally, we'll have a quick overview of all these components, how to export them and everything, and then we will finish up the project. So these are the frameworks and technologies that you will learn: components, project structure, lifecycle methods, React hooks and props. The hooks include use state hooks, React use effect hooks, use state hooks, state management, Material UI core components, spread operator, and arrow functions if necessary. So we learn these frameworks and technologies in this project. So basically this is the final project that we are going to build. This is the header section. It has a node section. So we have added an effect onto this node such that when you click on this node, you can see the whole create area text is popping out. Title of the node, take like the description of the node, and then there is an add option. So title, let me give it as a test. So the description will be, this is a test work node. So basically these are the list items, the node items that we want to make note of so that we can do everything. If I click on add, then you can see we are having a node that is getting added to our to-do list, and there is a delete function. If you click on this, it will delete. We'll see that. So here the work will be study, need to study React concepts, and then if you click on press, it will add. So like this, you can add how many ever you want. If you add the empty also, they will add. So this is the beauty of React. So if you observe this, when I click on add, the website is not refreshing. It is only adding an extra area like a node component. So this is the beauty of React. Like it only works with components. If something changes in the components, only that component will render, not all the components. So the header will remain fixed, the node will remain fixed, all the remaining nodes will remain fixed, the create area is fixed, only the new node that is added will be appeared over here. So I can also delete using this delete symbol. You can delete all of them. So since we are using arrays to store the data, if you refresh, all the nodes will be erased. But you can use databases such as PostgreSQL, MongoDB, SQL database or NoSQL database, and you can store the data in that. Or else you can also use your local storage to store the data. Where will be the local storage? Let us see that. Go to inspect. Here in the application, you can see the local storage. So I'll clear my local storage. Now if you add these components data to the local storage, then if you refresh also the data will be visible. So if this is the extra feature, if you want, we can see that in the end of the project. So this is the basically the project that we are going to build, the to-do app or to-do list or whatever you call, a note taking app, a note checkbook or everything, something. So this is basically the final version that we are going to build. In the next video, we'll get started with React, how to create the React app in a folder and then start to run it on the local host. We'll see that from the next video. In the last video, we saw the introduction to our project. So now I'll show you like what is the completed code of how the project looks like. As you can see, this is the app.jsx. We'll be writing the logic, business logic, and we'll be using the components. These are the components. These are the components that we create. You can see over here in the components folder, these components are present. So if I open create area, you can see the code for create area component. You can see the code for header component. You can see the code for Node.js component. Apart from this, we'll also see basic styling of these components so that the final web page should look as we saw in the last video. So these are, we'll see step by step, all the components, all the styling, and like the reasons behind writing that logic and everything. So first thing, we don't need this thing. We'll open a new window and a terminal so that we can get started with the React app. So now I am in my D drive in a folder called React projects and a folder named to do app. So here I'll have all my React app inside this folder. So how to create React app? One simple line, npx create React app. Done. So before executing this, I'll explain you what this line of code does. Actually, manually setting up a React project is a very big task. We need to write so many lines of code, install so many node modules, install so many dependencies. So this consumes a lot of time. So what Facebook developers did is they created a script. That script does all the work that we need to do manually. So that name of the script is create React app. So basically create React app is the name of the script that installs the React app inside the folder or the folder that you want, that is created by the Facebook developers. npx is a like tool. You can assume it as a tool that runs this script. For example, if you want to run a C program, you need G++, if a C++ program, G++, or else GCC. If you want to run a Java program, you want Java C. These are compilers. Like similarly, that you can use the same analogy. This is not exactly compiler, but you can use that analogy. npx is a part of npm, node package manager, that is used to run this script. Okay, and then this dot, what this dot does is this creates the React project inside the current directory. If you don't want to create inside the current directory and you want a new folder also inside this directory, then you specify the folder name. Since I already created a folder called to do app, I want to install my React project inside this current folder itself. So I'll be using dot. So once you write this code, just click on enter. And one more thing, the name of the folder that you want to have your React app should be in lowercase. Everything should be in lowercase. Nothing should be in like, even a single letter should be in uppercase. These are the naming convention rules of React project. So you can see the package.json is installed. It will take some time, like for few computers it may take 5 minutes, for few computers it may take 2-3 minutes. If you are having a very powerful system, it may take only 30 seconds or 20 seconds. So we'll be back once the installation process, like this whole process, gets finished. So we are back. If you see these kind of messages like happy hacking, npm start, if you see these messages, then that means the React app has been successfully created. So now how to run this React app? You can also see all the node modules have been installed and everything. So how to run this React app? There is simple command npm start. So this will start the React app. You should be in that folder where you created the React app. So inside to do app folder, I'm executing this command npm start. If I click enter, this will happen in a quick time, like around 10 to 20 seconds. So won't take that much time. So before that, this will run on a default server port number 3000. It will open automatically in your default browser. So I'll be using Google Chrome so that it has good developer console tools for editing. As you can see, there is some logo that is having some animation, some text and some background color. So why we are having this? React developers gave a boilerplate code for this React project. So this will install defaultly, but we don't want this. We want to start freshly with a white screen. So how to do that? So I'll do some pre-processing work over here. So first thing, we have to delete all the unnecessary files. Just do parallelly with me so that you won't get lost. Okay, and then go to public. All of this, we don't need any of this, so move to recycle bin. And some pre-processing work like delete all the styles. Go to app.js, we don't need this logo, so delete it. And then we want just a hello world, so we'll print hello world. H1. Okay, we'll print a to-do, welcome to to-do list. Welcome to to-do list. to do app. Okay, so we'll return this, and inside index.js. Okay, index.js, we don't need any of this, we'll remove this. Yeah, now go to index.html and remove all this boilerplate code. Will be to do list app. So once we do all this pre-processing, now open your website. Now you can see like we have got a plain white page and welcome to do app text. So what's basically happening here? We'll get a high level view on what is happening. So in index.html, this is the base. So here we are having a div with id root. Now go to app.js. So here inside app.js, you can see, so app.js and index.js. In index.js, you can see we're importing React router DOM, everything. So what we are doing here is we are running the code of index.html and we are inserting all the code that the React has inside this div, inside the div with id root. As you can see here, we are getting the document.get element by id. We are getting that element with id root, and then inside that we are rendering our app component. So what this app component has, it has a division with the h1. We are returning it. So basically this is what we are printing. So now similarly in app.js we can use other components. We'll create a components folder and we'll create all the components like create area, node.jsx and all the components and import them and use in app.js with all the business logic code. So we'll see everything one by one, step by step from a few further videos. In this video, we have created the React app and then we'll start building the original website that we want to build from the next video. Thank you. Welcome back to the new video of this project. In this video, until now, we have seen how to get started with the React app. In this video, we'll see how to get started with the components. We'll build each component one by one. First, the header component, and then the take note component, the note component, the footer, everything. So first thing, we have to build the header component. So now what we'll do is I'll create a folder called components. And then inside this folder, I'll now start building the components. The first component that we'll build is header component. So header.jsx. You can use any syntax. JS is fine, JSX is fine, but sometimes the JSX gives us the feature to skip this import React statement. If you have use state or use effect hooks, then you have to import them. But if you have like the basic import React from React, you can skip that. So now actually in this video, this is what we are going to build, the to do component. If you use the debug tool, pesticide.io is the the extension that I will use for the debug purposing. So this header component, we are going to build this in this video. So now what we have to do inside this header. So as you can see, there is a logo over here. That logo came from Material UI. If you go to materialui.com and search for logo, so for that, first we need to import the install this Material UI component, right? So npm install @material UI /core @material UI /icons. So this will install the Material UI core and the icons. We'll be using this icon, the flashlight icon. So let us search for this icon. So this is basically in the shape of some highlight icon, right? Some torch. So we'll see whether we're having the torch or not. Torch, if you go, otherwise you can go to the components. Okay, just search for the icons over here. You can go to the icons, you can search for icons. can do a Google search. So yeah, so this is how we can use the icons. Like if for example, if you take a home icon, there is a component named home icon. If you want to change the color, you can give the attributes color. These are basically props. These are the custom components that some user created that we are using. So all these components are documented inside this material UI components that we can use. So now we can search like a torch icon. Or highlight icon. Here you can search like torch and getting nothing, so search for highlight. Yeah, so this is the icon that we'll be using. This icon, you can see it is a white in color. So yeah, color we can do it in CSS. So basically we have to import this statement. Let us first check whether, yeah, so as you can see, the packages material UI core icons have been installed. If you want to check, you can go to package.json and you can see in the dependencies that your core and icons have been installed successfully. So now go to header.js and import this statement, import highlight icon from material UI /icon/highlight. And before that, we'll basically import React. No need to do that, but as a good programming practice, if you want some practice on hands-on practice, then you can like simply go and type this small line of code. This basic code for everything you can, and also the extension, as I said before, it can be either JS or JSX. So once this is done, so now we can create the function header. Here you can return the header. So basically this is a HTML default component that we are using, header. Inside the header we will have a h1 tag, and inside the h1 we'll have this highlight icon. So yeah, you don't need this. This is a self-closing tag, and after the icon, just we can have the name of the app, to-do list. As you can see over here, you're having the to-do list name, so I can have it here. So once this is done, you can simply export the header component. Once you export this, now you have to import this component in your app.js, right? So go to app.js and simply import the header component. Import header from ./components/header. So once this is done, here instead of the welcome to do app, we want to display header. So we'll display header, the imported component. Now if you open your website, yeah, so here you can see we have got the icon and also the title to-do list, but what we are missing, the background color, the styling, some padding, the margin, all this. So all of these things we can do in CSS. We'll do that now. So basically first we'll understand what happened until now. We have created a component called header.jsx, wrote the code for the header.jsx, like we used the icon, the h1 to-do list, and then we exported this as the default export. Now this export we have to import it in app.js and use it. So go to app.js, import the header, and then use it inside the division of that app that we are returning. So now we have to do the styling part. Go to the public, and here in public create a new file called styles.css. Once this is created, now you can create like the styles that is required. So initially the whole page will have a default padding and margin, so we'll make that as 0, so that the styling we give actually work in the way that we want. Box sizing should be border box. So basically we have overridden the default given by the Chrome browser, and then basic HTML fonts will give font family will be Montserrat sans serif. So once this is done, now go to body, now header. Now we'll target the header tag. As you can see inside the header.js there is a header tag. Now we are basically targeting that header HTML tag of the HTML. So it should have a background color of hash F5BA13. So now we'll see whether this is reflect or not. As you are refreshing, you can see this is not reflected. Why? We'll see that. Before that, we'll complete the styling part. Margin will be auto -16 pixels. So this top and bottom should be auto, left and right should be -16 pixels. And then padding will be 16 pixels and 32 pixels. 16 pixels top and bottom, 32 pixels right and left. And then box shadow will be 0, 0, 10 pixels 0, RGBA of 0, 0, 0 and 0.3, 0.0, 0 and 0.3. After that, we have to also style the h1. Inside the header, the h1 tags. We have to target this h1 tag that is present inside the header. So it should have a color of FFF. Font family should be McLaren cursive. This is your wish. This is your stylistic choice. Here I am preferring McLaren because I feel that is more attractive to the eyes. Just simply your stylistic choice. You can go to the Google fonts and select what font you want and then use it. Font weight, we want it should be some bold kind of thing, 200. So now we have completed the styling part of the web page. But if you open the web page and refresh, you can see there are no styling there are no changes that are visible. The reason is because if you go to index.js, if you go to index.html, then you can see you aren't importing the style sheet. So we have created the code, it's okay, but where we are calling this code to work, that is what we have to do. In the head after the title, you link the style sheet. The relation should be style sheet and the href should be styles.css. So once you do this line of code, save and open, now you can see the changes have been reflected. You have got a good yellow border. The padding is somewhat different because it might be some you can check the padding, giving some more padding to that and everything. We'll see that. And also there is some different background, there is some texture in the background. We'll see that in the upcoming videos, all the styling and everything. So now in this video we have completed the header part. What we learned in this video is using the material UI, importing, exporting, and also using the the basic style CSS. This is basically simple style CSS, the margin, padding, border color, font, shadow and everything. You can go through it. In the next video we'll be actually starting the the take note part and the note, create area and everything. This is basically create area, the add button, the delete button of the note part. We will see everything in the upcoming videos. In the previous video, we saw how to make the header component. In this video, we'll see the next step of that is building this create area component. So first, go to your code part, go to the components and create the new component, create area. Create area.jsx. So once this is created, Now you have to do the boilerplate coding that you do for every component, that is import react from react. And then you have to create a function for the create area component, function create area. Now it will return a div with some text like create area component. Now we have to export the component, export default create area. Once you are done with this, go to app.js and import the component of create area. Import create area components.create area. So this is this is why the reason many of the developers use Visual Studio Code. It gives it has so many snippets and function the extensions that it becomes very handy for the developers, such as auto-filling, sometimes auto-filling the class names, auto-filling the HTML elements, auto-filling some lines of code and everything. So this is the reason why Visual Studio Code is better for, you can also use other IDEs such as Atom and everything, but I would prefer Visual Studio Code if you are a basic basic developer just getting started with the basics. Okay, now let's go into this video. So here after importing the create area, now where we have to use it? We have to use after the header. We need to have this create area component, right? So create area. So yeah, so once this is done, now if you open, you can see we have got the create area component that we have in the create area, just the text. So now we don't want the text, we want a form that takes the title, that takes the content and everything, right? So that we'll build here. Now remove this, and now form dot class name should be create node. Okay, so no need of action as of now. So form, it will be a class name will be create node, and then you need to have an input inside this form, right? So we'll have the input. Input type will be text, the name will be title, the name of the, because it stores the title of the node that we are making. On change, so this we'll see in coming few minutes. So placeholder should be title. I'll do some indentation so that the code looks neat. So yeah, so this is the input. Now after the input, we need to have the text area. Text area, everything should be in small letters. So let me type, yeah, text area. Text area name will be content, the content of the node, and then ID, rows and everything. No need to specify columns, we'll specify rows should be 3. So once this is done, we'll just indent it. It is a self-closing tag, so you can simply use this. So yeah, okay, so there's a error showing the error. Yeah, so now after we finish the input and text area, we'll have the text area should also have a placeholder. The placeholder should take a node. As you can see here in our website, we're having a take a node placeholder. Yeah. So now once you open this, now you can see we are having a title, we are having a take note. This can be expanded, but the default will be 3 rows. If you can expand it, you can the rows and columns you can expand it using this arrow over here. But once you refresh the default, when the page loads by default, it will have 3 rows. But it looks to be like, it looks, to be honest, it looks very bad or something. Like, many of the developers won't like this kind of way. It should be very neat. As you can see here, it should be very proper. For that, we'll use styling in a short period of time. But before that, we want to see, like, we want to store the value that we are typing inside the title and take a note, so that we can store the note object like to some array or kind of stuff. So for that, we need to use the hooks. Now the concept of hooks comes. So function handle change. This will take an event. First, let me finish writing the code, and then I'll explain you line by line what that code does. So const name comma value event dot target. Set note will be taking the previous note, and then we'll return the new object. This is the spread operator. We'll discuss like what is the spread operator, why are we using this curly braces, what does event.target return, everything. We'll see everything after I finish writing the code. Just write the code with me parallelly, so that once you also finish, like, we can discuss what's happening. Set note previous note comma name should be value. This is handle change, and now const set note is equals to use the state. We are using the state hook. Here we'll have two properties. Title will be empty default, and then content will be empty. So one more, like, before we finish here, on change, we have to call the function handle change. The same thing over here. The on change, we will call the handle change, and also the value will be node.title. The same thing here. Just copy this line of code. Handle change, there is a typo. Node.content. So we have to import the use state. I'll import that. So it's not set to import. So we can simply import React and hooks in a single line itself, because everything is from React only. No need to use multiple lines. So now what we have done is, until now what we did, we just created an input and text area. But how to track the changes happening inside them? For example, if I'm typing something, for example, if I'm typing some random thing, the value should keep on changing whenever something is changing inside text. So that is why we are introducing the concept of hooks here. What is hook? Basically, the meaning of this sentence is, we are creating a variable. You know, as in programming, there are variables that contain some value. So this note is a variable, and set note is a function that is used to change the value of this variable. Okay, that we are defining using this useState hook. So initially useState contains, what does this note contain? This is a variable, but what it contains? This contains a JavaScript object that like this contains, for example, if you give inside useState hook, instead of all of this, if you give a simple empty array, note contains empty array. But as of now, you are giving a object with two properties, one title and content. So this note is a variable that contains a JavaScript object with two properties, title and content. By default, this title and content are empty strings. And now, whenever you want to change this note value, you can use that. You can change that by using the set note. So this is what the useState hook is doing. Basically, on change. So whenever the input, the user is typing something on the input. For example, if I am typing something over here, that means on change. That means the input is changing rapidly. Whenever I type a new key or new letter, it is changing the input. So on change means whenever the input is changing inside this input element, then we are calling basically handle change function. Since handle change is a JavaScript function, we are specifying that inside curly braces. So inside HTML, whenever you want to use JavaScript, as you know, we will be using curly braces. So now what does this handle change function is doing? This is taking an event. What is the event? Event that is triggering this function. So basically, what is the event that is triggering the function? That is typing some text by some user. That is it can be client or the server user, somebody is typing the text and is triggering the event. This event has a target. This target has two values, two properties. One is name and the other is value. So if you want to print them, you can print them console.log event.target. So now I'll show you in developer console. You open the developer console, and then if you type something, you can see whenever I'm typing a new letter, entering a new letter, I see, for example, I'll clear this. Okay, so now whenever I type a new, for example, let me type A. Whenever I type A, then you can see a new, something is console log. So when you are selecting this is the input. This input has a type, this has a name, this has a placeholder, this has a value. But out of this everything, we want name and value. So that is why we are destructuring them. Destructuring means event.target is an object that contains many attributes, like many properties like name, value, placeholder and everything. Out of that, we want only name and value. So we have to use those names to destructure, the same names. But when we are using, like when we want to take information from array, then no need to use these brackets. We can simply use square brackets and the name can be anything. But object destructuring, it should be the name of the property only. So name, we are getting from the event.target name. It is storing inside this name variable, and value the same. So name and value basically are event.target.name and event.target.value. So now here, set note, we are using set note. That means we are changing the the note. As I said before, this note contains title and content with default as empty string. So now when we are calling this set note, where basically previous note means previous note contains, this is the parameter that we are sending to set note. This contains the value of the previous note value. That means for example, I am having something test. Test is the value currently. Now I'm typing a new letter called 1. When I typed 1, that means the change, like something changed. So on change, it will call this handle change function. It will take name and value from the target. Now the previous note will be the previous data, that is the test. It will test and then it will call this function and it will return the whole previous data test and also extra name value, that is 1. Okay, this gives the extra thing that has added newly. So 1. Basically, we are returning the previous value and then also concatenating with the new value. Okay, this we are basically taking in the previous we are like saving it inside the note variable and we are returning it. So every time we are changing, the input is changed, the note value changed, and the note.title and note.content we are giving it to the value of the input, because it should be same, right? in input what is the value it is having, it should be the same as the note title or content. This is basically a good programming. This is what we are doing basically over here. We are handling the changes. Why this is important? This is important because whenever we are clicking on enter, that means the data is now we are getting hold of the data, the note what the user want to give, like want to have as a to do item, the to do note. So that we can add to our array. So this note object we can add to our array, and then we can set it as again as a empty object. So that is why it is very important. And also hooks are used so that it does not disturb the whole web page. For example, now when I type, as you saw in console.log, when I type a word here, only that the console.log is appearing, nothing is getting refreshed. So that is the beauty of React. It works on hooks and components, but that only the required components and the required things on the web page gets reloaded or refreshed, but not the whole web page. So this is a basic understanding of hooks and previous values, setting hooks, and this is the spread operator. Spread operator means to get hold of all the previous node, like copy and pasting the previous value. Previous node is a variable that contains some information. To copy and paste that, we will be using that spread operator. So this is what we have done in this video. In the next video, we'll see like creating a new array for that, to keep the hold of all the to do items. And whenever the user clicks on submit, to add that note inside the array, and also deleting that note, the to do item from the array. This and the styling part of the now it looks somewhat ugly. So we'll do the styling and everything in the next in the coming videos. In the previous video, we saw like the use of use state hooks, and also saw how to handle the changes whenever the input is changing, object destructuring, spread operator, and this kind of stuff. In this video, we'll see how to do this functionality, like basically type the content and add it to the array. So how to do that? First thing, we have to create a array for storing the object information. All the object information, we need one array. So that array should be a hook. That means it keeps on changing, right? So hooks are basically used whenever it keeps on changing, whenever something is happening on the web page. So whenever we are clicking, writing some new these things and then clicking add, then it should get stored, right? So this keeps on changing. That's why we'll be using a hook for that array. So firstly, go to app.js and then create that list, to-do list or notes. You can call it as anything. I'll call it as notes. Set notes. Use state. By default, it should be empty array. So we can change this empty array to any to add everything whenever the new list or to-do item is added using the function set notes. So now, after in this create array, we'll be using one more thing. That is, we'll be sending a prop, that is on add prop. On add is equals to add note. So what are props? Props are basically, if you can see, if you go to header.jsx, you can see h1 element. You can see header. These are the default HTML tags that HTML provides to the user. But if you can see highlight icon, you can see create area.jsx, if you can see header.jsx, these are the customized tags that we are creating. These are also tags, but these are the customized tags. Similarly, like if you can see h1 has some attributes like not like you can take form in a create area. If you take form input, it has some attributes. Type is attribute, name is attribute, value is attribute, placeholder is attribute. These are the attributes that are present defaultly by that HTML tag. These are the custom tags that we are creating. So these also will have attributes that we create on our own. Those are called as props. So that is what we are going to send here in app.js. So the prop name will be onAdd, and for this prop we'll be sending a function called add node. So in create area.jsx, whenever the new note is created, that like means whenever the plus button, the submit button is submitted, then we'll call this we'll call this on add prop, that will in return carry out this function that we are going to write the code here. For that, we'll see how to use that. So here, after the text area, we'll have a fab icon. I'll in a minute I'll come to that fab icon and add icon. Fab on click equals to submit note. So basically, what are we doing over here? What this line of code does is that fab is a part of material UI core. As you know, whenever when the submit gets triggered, we can only submit whenever the form we are submitting has an action called post. So since we are not having a form, we are not submitting the form. We want to have an icon. So clicking on icon, like clicking on button, should submit it. But this is not a button. This is an icon that we are getting from material UI. So how to trigger a submit request using the icon? For that, there is fab. So whenever we click on fab, something is on click, then it will submit the request and carry out the function. Inside that fab, we'll be having add icon